difficulty and confusion. It's easy to be overwhelmed by the large number of options available to clinicians. To evaluate these options and to choose among them, the clinician needs a clear strategy based on relevant criteria. Once a laboratory has been selected, the next and never-ending task is one of effective communication with the technician to ensure ongoing clinical excellence, along with the appropriate technical support. One of the greatest challenges of implant dentistry is the mutual and continued transfer of clinical knowledge and information with the dental lab. After completing this ITI Online Academy module, you should be able to identify the criteria for selecting a dental laboratory partner, describe the information needed to prescribe work for a dental technician, and explain the quality assessment processes used in reviewing prostheses provided by a dental lab. When considering a dental lab, it's important to have a clear understanding of the role that the dental technician plays in the delivery of clinical services. Whilst the technician may not physically be present in the clinic, he or she nevertheless forms a critical part of the implant treatment team. As such, it's beneficial to consider the dental technician as a clinical partner. In the past, the expertise and role of technicians in the clinical sphere has all too often been downplayed. However, the delivery of high-quality dental implant treatment is impossible without a successful partnership between clinician and technician, whereby the sharing of information, as well as a shared passionate pursuit of clinical excellence, results in the best possible outcome for patients. The location of a dental lab is one factor to consider. Some clinics have the luxury of an on-site or intramural dental technician. This allows for the most direct and convenient access to laboratory services for both clinicians and patients. However, most clinicians will need to utilize an off-site or extramural dental lab. In this case, from a transport and communications perspective, it's generally more effective and convenient to work with a local dental lab that is physically close to the dental clinic. Doing so will reduce the time needed to transport cases to and from the clinic. Using a local lab will also expedite custom shade matching evaluations with the ceramist, as well as other treatment stages such as try-ins. Utilizing a remote lab that is located in another city or state requires closer coordination between clinic and lab to ensure that cases are delivered within agreed schedules, taking into consideration various methods of delivery, such as standard post or express courier services. With a remote dental lab, there's always the risk of parcels being misplaced or failing to meet delivery deadlines, not to mention the difficulty of patient access to custom shade matching procedures. It's critical that there is mutual understanding between clinician and technician regarding workflow and time management. Some laboratories take pre-bookings, so when possible, the clinician should inform the dental lab regarding the details of the case to be sent, including the type of prosthesis and expected times for delivery and insertion. Tight coordination is needed for treatments requiring multiple stages, such as trying of abutments or wax-ups for implant or tooth-supported prostheses. Some cases may require the involvement of third parties external to the dental lab, such as milling centers or CAD/CAM facilities. The involvement of such parties requires further interaction between clinician and technician, or with the third party itself. Some CAD/CAM centers require clinicians to verify and approve digital designs prior to proceeding to the next stage. It was a specific recommendation of the 5th ITI Consensus Conference that the clinician should play an active role in controlling all CAD/CAM processes and material selection, and should approve the final virtual prosthesis that dictates the abutment or framework design. The clinician also should be aware of what production methods are being used, such as 3D printing of resin models, and whether such work is being outsourced to other facilities. The involvement of third parties may also impact on the time needed for prosthesis fabrication. The technician should be experienced with the implant systems that the clinician and their surgeon use. In addition, it's important that the technician is familiar with the techniques and materials that the clinician may wish to prescribe, such as certain systems of CAD/CAM manufacture that are specific to the implant system. Whilst CAD/CAM providers may claim to produce components that are compatible with multiple implant systems, such components may differ significantly from the original intended implant design and tolerances. The clinician may also have a preference for certain types of alloys. In this clinical image, a high gold alloy has been used as the substrate. A related factor to consider is whether it's ideal to partner with a single lab that deals with all aspects of technical work, including fixed and removable prostheses, or whether it's preferable to work with separate labs for different types of prostheses. Because the fabrication of implant prostheses is largely an art as well as a science, it's important that the clinician and technician maintain a philosophical convergence regarding the artistic design of prostheses. Different technicians made these crowns on the upper right canine. Both crowns satisfy clinical parameters for function and aesthetics. However, there are significant stylistic differences between the two prostheses. These differences may not be entirely resolvable, as they are largely based on each technician's preferences for form and shade. The interaction between clinician and technician involves a financial transaction. Therefore, criteria related to costs play a role in selecting a lab. First, it's important for the clinician to be aware that in most cases, the total lab charge will be a sum of different fees, such as prosthesis fabrication, articulation, metal alloys, and cast preparation. The itemized breakdown of these fees may or may not be shown on the final invoice. Second, the amount to be charged for each component of the definitive prosthesis should be presented to the clinician in a straightforward and unambiguous manner. The lab should also be clear as to whether any surcharges are applied to components that it obtains from the implant manufacturer. Finally, the clinician should be mindful that third-party providers such as milling centers will either bill the dental clinic separately or bill the lab, who will then decide whether to add a surcharge before passing on that cost to the clinic. Ultimately, clinicians should seek to deliver high-quality treatment by utilizing technicians dedicated to producing high-quality prostheses. Laboratories that operate with an emphasis on high production may sacrifice quality. Every clinician should weigh a laboratory's value proposition for his or her patients. In this value proposition, the results, for example, the aesthetics, function, and longevity of the prosthesis, and process quality, such as the required number of appointments and time between procedures, are offset by the financial, time, and biological costs. A higher value is derived for patients when the results and process quality increase and the cost decreases. However, a low-cost prosthesis may also be accompanied by poor long-term results. The patient may then incur significantly higher financial, time, and biological costs as a result of a poorly fitting prosthesis or premature failure of materials. Selection criteria, key learning points. The dental technician operates as a clinical partner. Therefore, clinician and technician should have a shared philosophy regarding prosthetic design. It's important to consider the location of a lab in relation to the clinic and the effect of that distance on the coordination of treatment workflows. A clinician should choose a lab whose technicians are capable using his or her preferred implant systems, CAD/CAM techniques, and alloys. A dental lab should clearly state its policies in regard to outsourcing work to third-party providers, including any surcharges passed on to the clinician. A lab's financial policies should be clearly stated to the clinician. An ideal dental lab values quality over quantity when producing prostheses. The clinician should maintain a checklist of items that need to be sent to the lab when submitting a case. This list may include impressions, models for reference, or models of opposing teeth, photographs to communicate tooth shades or other characteristics, wax-ups or templates to convey contours, and occlusal records. The technician should also provide input regarding their requirements for each type of case. One of the most valuable tools in the communication armamentarium of the clinician is photography. The next few slides will demonstrate some key aspects of clinical photography that are pertinent to communication between clinic and laboratory. The first important element of photography is lighting. The type, power, and positioning of various light sources, such as dual point or diffused ring flashes, will affect the quality and type of image obtained. For example, a light source closer to the lens will result in a more evenly lit image, whereas a more distant light source will provide highlights and shadowing. More information on this subject can be found in the ITI Online Academy Learning module, Digital Clinical Photography. One of the most useful aspects of photography is the communication of color and shade. Without the patient directly in front of them, the technician can reference their technical work against appropriate photographs to fabricate prostheses that closely match the existing dentition. The use of a widely dispersed light source without a filter can provide details of character and highlights, whereas the use of a cross-polarizing filter allows a more accurate depiction of true shades without the distraction of reflections. Photographs are most useful if the image that is displayed on the technician's screen is calibrated with the image that was captured by the clinician. A calibration tool, such as a neutral balance gray card, allows the technician to ensure that the image they see has the same color temperature and characteristics as the original source and image. These images show the use of a neutral balance gray card with and without a cross-polarizing filter. The final color of translucent materials will be affected by the color of their supporting materials.